Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. Lisa Lister, first and foremost. Lisa Lister, thank you so very much for your support always and for your generosity and for always watching. It is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Lisa. That is so kind of you always, and it just means a great deal to me. So thank you very, very much. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like some people. So Lisa Lister, thank you. You allow me to just remain an independent voice. You allow me to do these live streams. And thank you, Lisa. And please be here, like I always say, November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. October and November, FX Trader, hello. October and November are going to be amazing moments in U.S. history. President Trump is going 8 years. Hillary Clinton, like I have stated, I don't know how it's going to happen, but she will be on that ballot on November 3rd. That will be the biggest political call of all time. And I've always stated President Trump is going 8 years. So Lisa, thank you so very, very much. Eric, H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you for being amazing moderators. And Lisa, Eric, Luke St. Martin, everybody here, let's do something. Let's do something that Democrats always do. But let's try to psychoanalyze the Democratic Party. And this is coming from formerly a lifelong Democrat. Up until, I would say, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And this is coming from somebody that was at one point, according to the Huffington Post, the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet. This is long before Rose Twitter. All those pundits who said vote for Hillary Clinton and then got that venture capital funding, or got the venture capital funding before saying vote for Hillary Clinton, and then harped on Medicare for All and the Green New Deal legislation, which they never got. They got a resolution that they didn't even vote on in the Senate. But all those people weren't the biggest Bernie Sanders boosters on the internet. I was at one point. The Washington Post called me the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters. So, prior to that, I had never voted Republican. Technically, this is the first election I will vote Republican. I am voting President Trump. I'm not a Republican. I'm now just an independent voter. I don't belong to a political party. And so, before we get to the fact that you had top officials in President Obama's administration who were deleting federal records from phones, and these are Mueller probe individuals who, once the Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, started investigating them, started deleting records. Why? Because they were obviously covering their tracks. You cannot delete federal records, but apparently they all have no problem doing so. 30,000 federal records were deleted because they were yoga and just for convenience. But ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Lister, thank you again. Very, very kind of you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. Democrats care more about the image of being morally superior than actually being morally superior. They care about the image. They've crafted this world where they're saving baby seals from the maniacal Trump supporter desperately trying to club them and hurt them. And they have this vision of themselves where they're protecting the baby seals and the planet, and marginalized individuals, and they're the ones who are on the side of justice. They're the ones who are politically correct because they care so much about the feelings of others. I feel your pain. I could feel more if you won't. They're the ones that are on the side of justice, morality, truth, science. They're the ones who are going to protect not only the country from Facebook ads, but the planet from certain doom. They're the ones who care about helping people and righting the wrongs of the past. And they're the ones who will then blame the entire universe when they lose again. But that's another story. In order to create this narrative, they had to create a new Trump. Because the old Trump, the actual Trump, President Trump, the man who received what? Earned $230 million from The Apprentice. Let's see, Trump Apprentice earnings really quickly. $214 million in 14 seasons. Okay? And You're Fired was like, it was everywhere. But Lisa Lister, thank you again. So kind of you. So kind of you and so generous, and thank you as always. But this is the man who was a racist monster, yet nobody knew his past was so riddled with bigoted and racist and horrible behavior. He was on everyone from Jimmy Kimmel to, Jimmy Fallon to Stephen Colbert to Letterman. He had The Apprentice for 14 seasons. He earned $214 million just because he was able to hide how horrible of a human being he was. And suddenly when he became nominee and he made one crude remark that Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and every other Democrat has either stated almost verbatim or very similar in terms of the crude remark about undocumented individuals who, by the way, I want dreamers. I have friends who are dreamers. I want dreamers to become citizens tomorrow. So I don't have the traditional Republican vantage point on a bunch of topics. I definitely do on the Second Amendment. On foreign policy, I definitely have this president's viewpoint on foreign policy. He should win the Nobel Peace Prize. What he was able to accomplish in 1 month with Serbia and Kosovo and the UAE and Israel, 1.5 months, is more than President Obama accomplished in 8 years. There's not one lasting foreign policy achievement. In 16 years of Bush and President Obama, not one lasting foreign policy achievement. President Trump in the past month and a half, because the diplomatic and economic ties between those four countries between themselves, will last, hopefully, forever. And then you have the beginning of détente between North and South Korea. Yeah, it hasn't been a simple, easy, straightforward path to peace, but at least it's a million times better than it was prior to President Trump's presidency. President Moon Jae-in of South Korea stated that Trump deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. But they had to create another Trump. And let me explain, this is really important. They had to create a Trump that doesn't exist. the person who worked with Russia, who's a racist monster and a demagogue that feeds off base emotions and deceives a cult-like following, that doesn't exist. The deplorables don't exist either. They're not deplorable. Trust me, I know. The most deplorable people are on the left. I know. I was on the left my whole entire life. Now, when I became a Trump supporter, nothing but the nicest, most wonderful people. Honestly, like the most wonderful, kind-hearted people. And I don't agree with a great many of my viewers on immigration or other topics, but still the most wonderful people. I don't get this, this apoplectic, seething, fuming, hysterical, fanatical reaction. This reaction like I engaged in blasphemy if I disagree. Exactly. Trump does exude energy and patriotism. He does. But they had to create a Trump. This is why 4 years. This is why they're going to lose the election. And it's going to be Clinton. It ain't going to be Biden. I don't know how it's going to happen, and I don't care. And I don't know when, and I don't care when. But they have spent 4 years telling the world that Trump is a horrible human being, when they're the ones who are horrible human beings, when they're the ones who cheated Bernie Sanders and then blamed Russia for losing and voted alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld and wrote a crime bill that ushered in mass incarceration and said things and did things far worse than President Trump ever said or did in terms of the issue of race. P.E. Do you see the Atlantic wants to ban the Nobel Peace Prize now? Exactly. P.E. Thank you. Exactly. Which is hilarious, too, because it's like, well, President Obama won the Peace Prize, and he didn't deserve it. He didn't even... He hadn't accomplished anything, and he hadn't even started all the military endeavors, which is kind of funny and amusing, because President Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, and he was basically as militant, almost as militant as Bush, and he turned Libya into a failed state. This is a fact. But P.E., thank you. Lisa Lister, thank you again. Lisa, thank you. But it's very important you have to understand, when they say Trump is a misogynist, they are also saying Biden is not. Then when they're confronted with the fact that Tara Reade has far more credible allegations. If you want to talk about allegations without any direct evidence and just a subjective view of credibility, you can't go back in time. You can't go back in time to a 1993 Larry King CNN episode and call up and describe basically what Tara Reade was saying, or allude to what Tara Reade was saying. Can't do that. Can't do that. And then you had a criminal report that she actually filed. And then they kept saying, well, if you file a criminal report, you could go to jail if it's false. Nobody has filed a criminal report against Trump or Kavanaugh. The only criminal report filed for this type of allegation was against Biden. Pete Solano! Did you see Biden's rally the other day? He had maybe 100 people there. Exactly. Pete Solano. Exactly. Biden couldn't fill a phone booth. And the 100 people were probably the most, involved hardcore activists or Democratic partisans. It wasn't just It wasn't just there are no grassroots Biden supporters. That's why we know they're going to pass the baton to Madam Secretary, because there are no Biden supporters. That doesn't really exist. He's being propped up by the I'm With Her crowd. All that money he's making, these are Clinton's donors or Clinton's people or Clinton's network. You think Biden has a network that where he could raise money? He's never raised enough money to run. First of all, he's never had a functioning campaign for president. He was kicked out in '88 because of plagiarism. And so he was kicked out in '88 because of plagiarism. And then in 2008, he didn't make it even 1% in Iowa. And then he lost Iowa. I think he was fifth or fourth place in Iowa. Fifth place in New Hampshire. Either fourth or fifth in Iowa, fourth or fifth in New Hampshire, second in Nevada, I think. He lost the first three primaries because there's absolutely zero interest in Biden. Zero. He quote-unquote won the quote-unquote Democratic primary, the Zoom meeting, the glorified Zoom meeting, the Tammany Hall Zoom meeting. He won because his name was not Bernie Sanders. Notice that if you remember, you go back, everyone was sounding like me. The difference was 2016, Bernie Sanders could have won. He was cheated. They cheated him also in Iowa in 2020. But everybody was saying, okay, Bernie Sanders is going to win the nomination. Bernie Sanders is going to win the nomination. He didn't. Why? Because the whole thing was a setup. They were never going to allow ever Bernie Sanders to win, ever. So, but it's really important to understand when you look at this election and you look at the biblical meltdown that they're going to experience, because November 3rd is going to break the internet. That's why I say be here, be on H.A. Goodman's other channel. I will have ramped up everything on there. I'll be doing 3 segments a day starting October 1st on H.A. Goodman's other channel. I'll ramp up I'll do probably 2 uploads. I do 1 upload and 1 9 p.m. Pacific live stream that we enjoy every evening together. But I'll be doing probably 2 uploads and 1 live stream here, and then I'll be doing 3 uploads on H.A. Goodman's other channel. I might spark up the formerly H.A. Goodman Hyperbole channel, that whatever it was, Bizarro World Goodman. I don't know. I'll start up a gardening channel, a cooking channel, and we're gonna do like back to back live streams. It's gonna be amazing. Or uploads or whatever. It's going to be amazing because November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th is going to be the most important time in the history of the internet. And that is not hyperbole. In the past 20 years, with internet access being ubiquitous now, everybody has a cell phone, or either a laptop, but mostly a cell phone. You have the internet is omnipresent everywhere. It's just a part of everyone's life. But people are going to be staring at the internet around the world on November 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Especially the 3rd and the 4th. And the same reaction is going to take place. Oh my God, Trump won again. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But what's going to happen is the following. What's going to happen is you're going to have, yet again, the caricature that they've created the fantasy that they've created of President Trump, this fantasy of this racist monster that speaks to people who are just, the New York Times the other day said Trump supporters are scorned, and it's the politics of humiliation. Really, that's what Trump is all about. The politics of humiliation. It's the politics of humiliation. He wins because media and college-educated people and the elites, he despises them, and his supporters despise the intellect, the awesome intellect and moral superiority of people who are liberal, of the liberals. That's really why he won. And also Russian interference. And, there's just a lot of racist people, so he won there too. Not, let's see. Bringing home Americans, removing American soldiers from numerous countries, ending America's longest-running military conflict, so we can eventually bring home Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency wars. But you say this, and they don't care. The man was set up and framed. He's going after the same people who went after him. President Trump's presidency is like a Chuck Norris, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, action adventure film where he's like a Clint Eastwood, where he's wronged, and like a Charles Bronson film, like where he's wronged and he has to fight back and get retribution and revenge. But like it's the Durham probe is not about, it's not really only about revenge or retribution. Like, they did break the law. Democrats don't think so because it's not part of their fantasy that they've created. The fantasy that they created also is that Russia is so afraid of the Democrats because they were so effective at stopping Facebook ads and Twitter bots and Russian troll farms. In August, September, October, and November, and October and November of 2016. This happened under their watch. President Obama did not veto the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity to a company that he knew, that they all knew was going to be eventually purchased by Putin. That company, with direct ties to Russia, gave millions of dollars into the foundation run by you-know-who. But they don't care. It's not part of their fantasy. They project. They have to create a fantasy around Trump that doesn't exist. Pete Solano! HA, if you have a cooking show, name the first episode Trump Girls Bite. Pete Solano! Pete Solano, thank you. Thank you, Pete Solano, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be Madam Secretary. If it's Biden, which I don't think it will be, it won't be. It'll be Madam Secretary. Biden would lose so miserably. They wouldn't even be able to cheat. Pete, thank you so very much. They wouldn't be able to cheat. They wouldn't be able to cheat. Their entire, the reason they're so giddy and happy is the following. They're like, oh, the election's not going to be called until November 10th. Yay. They think they have the media. See, they know the media is going to cover for them. So they don't want the election called on November 3rd. Trump could be up by 20,000, 30,000 votes in Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Florida, Ohio, Minnesota, and then they will expect to win. Do you understand? They will expect to win. Not, oh my God, we're down. Is there even a chance? No, they will expect to win on November 4th and 5th. And then this is hilarious. They've gotten on Trump for saying things without evidence for 4 years. And then they go after Tulsi Gabbard without evidence. And then they say that Bernie Sanders told Elizabeth Warren that a woman couldn't win without evidence. And then they say Trump is not going to leave. He's going to stay. And he's not going. They're going to have to get like Superman and Batman and like every, the X-Men and every superhero to like storm the the White House and pull him out of the White House. This is their minds their minds are so warped. They have such contempt for Trump, not because he's a bad president. Notice they can't point to a single decision. They just say he downplayed the virus. Well, what does that even mean? He downplayed. These are broad allegations. These are broad, sweeping, generalized allegations. They're not really specific grievances. He accepted Russian help. He accepted interference. He had improper contacts with Russia. What does this even mean? His words incite violence. Okay, how? What are you basing this on? Aside from your demented, warped, insidious minds, you lost badly, miserably. You never got over it. So you set up and framed Trump with a dossier Clinton purchased. No wonder the left always gets pummeled and steamrolled and beaten up by the Democratic Party. Because there's no basic logic. Basic logic should tell you that you're not going to convince the people who run the Democratic Party to pass a Medicare for All bill. So you probably should just start, your own political party or join the Green Party. Because Democrats don't really have any major amazing pieces of legislation. The Green New Deal resolution was supposed to inspire people. That's how they got away with explaining how bad it was. Well, it wasn't really supposed to happen right away. It was supposed to inspire people. Bill Shepard! Bill! November 3rd will be the opening scene from 2000. The Space Odyssey, banging bones on the ground in rage. Or Bill, the opening scene of History of the World, which is a spoof on the Space Odyssey, is probably going to be the opening scene of History of the World. Bill Shepard, thank you. Sid Hart, trick 'em all, Sid Hart. Because of Trump, the whole world knows what fake news means. He was saying that since 2015. Exactly. Sid Hart, trick 'em all. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, there was even an awards. There was even an awards there's so many just patently false news stories. I turned on Bill Maher really quickly just to see what he was talking about, and he was like, this is another reason why they're going to lose. It's like everything you see is that's a reason they're going to lose. So Bill Maher was lamenting the fact, you have to win by 5% nationally to be able to win in this country. This is so messed up. It's like, what more do you want in terms of an advantage? You have MSNBC, CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times, all of Hollywood almost all of every athletic sports league in the country. Tell me like an organization that's openly supporting President Trump. I can't think of one offhand. I'm sure there are. Very rarely you will see a Hollywood celebrity. Very rarely you will see an athlete. Very rarely you will see a person on YouTube. Very rarely you will see people openly supporting President Trump. And still, they want absolute and total control of the country's, future. It's like, no, that's why we have a democracy. We have a democracy so we can do something other than what Hollywood and media and corrupt intelligence officials want. Sid Hart, thank you. Bill, thank you. Stuart Caldwell. Thank you. Stuart Caldwell, thank you. Stuart, thank you very much. Thank you. But their fantasy, their neuroses, I should say, the neuroses that helped create, that caused this living nightmare they're suffering through, they have stomped their feet and engaged in a 4-year temper tantrum, culminating in the destruction of buildings and police buildings and buildings set ablaze peacefully. Matthew Wayne! Trump will win again. Until then, sweetness. Exactly, Matthew. Thank you. That's right. But ladies and gentlemen, they have stomped their feet and yelled at the top of their lungs, and they have continually complained. They've made statements every single minute of every single hour of every single day of every single week of every single month for 4 years that were based on nothing but opinion and claims without evidence. Trump never worked with Russia. That was a claim without evidence. Evidence is not a James Clapper written report. Evidence is not the Steele dossier, which is complete nonsense. Evidence is not what all the smartest people in the room think, because they're not the smartest people in the room. You have these academics who basically impeached President Trump. Then you have academics who disagree. There's Victor Davis Hanson. He's a brilliant academic. He likes President Trump. He disagrees with the impeachment. Okay? Trump has his own attorneys that defended him. He has academics who, you can't really be an academic now and defend President Trump, because you will either lose your job or be ostracized. You can't be in Hollywood or say anything good about you. The left, what they've done is they have said, you either agree with our fantasies regarding President Trump, you either agree with our fantasies, this kind of, this nightmare that they've written out in a script, this dystopian novel that they've written about Trump that doesn't even, they were writing this fantasy, this horror film, when we had record low unemployment. And then you imagine after the pandemic how they feel. But they're going to, on November 3rd, lose yet again. Reality is going to set in, and it's not going to be pretty. Because they were so arrogant. They were so overly confident. And they made the same mistakes all over again. And they have not learned. And they said, well, we lost with 70,000 votes. And, oh, yeah, the Russians cheated us. So we'll just go back to the same old reliable. It'll be Clinton again. It ain't going to be Biden. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Just because you see Biden doesn't mean that, I don't know how or why or when, but they ain't going to go with Biden. Just like they cheated Bernie Sanders. When they were cheating Bernie Sanders, it's almost like you didn't need the DNC emails because you had the same people saying, no, they didn't cheat Bernie Sanders. You have the same people. Let's see if I can find some articles here. Oh, this is hilarious. No, Bernie supporters, you weren't cheated. This is July 28, 2016. Then why did the Russians hack the DNC? Huh? Then March 6th, right after Iowa, or I guess, no. This is Bernie Sanders getting burned again. This is after Super Tuesday. But I want to see these articles written. CNN, could Sanders have won a primary that wasn't rigged? Here. 538, May 26, 20. The system isn't rigged against Sanders. There's one in The Nation. New Republic. No, the DNC didn't rig the primary in favor of Hillary. I love it. No wonder they're so dysfunctional. It's so great. And then you have January, Trump telling Bernie voters the election was rigged again. This is so funny. New York Magazine. If you think that the primary if you think Bernie is being cheated, it's either Trump or Putin. It's definitely not us. We just used an app that former Clinton campaign people created. What's the problem? What's the problem? Hold on. There's one in The Nation. And then Vox. Was the Democratic primary rigged? Explained. Oh, love it. It used to really bother me, but now I love it. You kidding me? I love it. It's the best. Pete Solano! The police have caught. Oh my God. I have to check that out. Pete, thank you for telling us. Thank you. George Rivera Jr. Ever notice how nobody on the left ever denies the truth of the exposed email? Exactly. Great point. And Pete Solano, I have to look into that. That's nuts. George Rivera Jr., you're 100% right. They don't deny anything. Like, it's true Trump didn't call the virus a hoax. That's true. But he sure insinuated and the sentiment behind the energy waves that Marianne Williamson was talking about from Trump's orange mane. His bigoted orange hair got people to downplay things. They acknowledge it's true that the emails were disparaging, and here we go again. No, Bernie wasn't cheated. The snarky, nauseating snark. That's why the meltdown's going to be so amazing. They'll be like, no! Because you have bragging rights. Do you understand? Sorry, you win your rivalry game twice. You officially have bragging rights. And like 2 elections in a row is basically like 8 years in a row. So, you have bragging rights. It means you can you can always say you lost twice. Mic drop. You lost twice. George Rivera Jr., Pete Solano, Lisa Lister, everyone here, Luke St. Martin, Eric H52, anyone tries to come at you, you lost twice. Bye. Gonna go now. Yeah. Russia, Martians, racism. You lost twice. What's up? You lost twice. You lost twice. But you have George Rivera Jr., you're right. They don't deny it because they think that it's okay for them to cheat. They think it's okay for them to set up Trump. It's true that Mueller didn't find anything. It's true that Mueller didn't indict but it didn't exonerate Trump. Trump isn't exonerated, okay? All you have to say is you lost twice. Because if what they said about Trump for 4 years were true, they wouldn't have lost in 2016. And they wouldn't have lost in 2020. They're going to lose again. And it'll be Clinton, but if they're so inept that they go with Biden, it's not going to even be close. Their entire lives are predicated. Their entire lives are predicated upon getting close enough to cheat. Then they say, "Oh, Trump is showing discord and suspicion of the election, of our pristine election process." Well, that's good. Why don't you ask Debbie Wasserman Schultz? She was forced to resign. Why don't you ask the people who designed an app in Iowa in 2020? It took you 10 years to find out who won the small little contest in Iowa. Then they come out with these ridiculous, there's a first alignment and a second alignment, and then, there's a person that has to get on a unicycle with a bunch of fiery bowling pins, and they have to pedal for about 100 miles, and then they have to jump into a river of piranha, swim past to the other side, and then there's some coin flips. And then we find out who won Iowa. And these are the people who are like, he's sowing suspicion of our electoral process. Yeah, because you cheat all the time, you cheaters. You cheat. That's all you do is cheat. Sorry, we don't trust you. George Rivera Jr., thank you. We don't trust you, Democrats. We don't trust. And then when like Trump, when Trump is like, yeah, I don't trust Democrats, they're like, Trump without evidence doesn't trust us. Trump without evidence doesn't trust us. Like, we have the evidence. Ask Bernie Sanders. Actually, don't ask Bernie. You'd be like, they were fine. They didn't cheat me. What are you talking about? The Russians cheated me by telling everyone the Democrats were cheating me. You see? Teresa King! I usually don't watch The View, but I will on November 4th. It should be great to see. Oh my God. Joy Behar. I want to see that response. That's going to be an amazing response. I can tell you, Teresa and George and everybody here, I can tell you, Lisa Lister, I can tell you, everybody on MSNBC, everyone on CNN, the Hollywood, Barbara Streisand, Robert De Niro, you know what, America? You're not worth it. I give up. I give up trying to teach you how to live and how to think. I give up. Okay, you know what? Have Trump for 8 years. Why don't you just have him for 20 years? Forget about it. Our country is done. Our country is done. We're done. We don't have a country anymore. Our republic is over. Trump won 8 years. You want Trump? You want Trump? We're done as a country. That's what they're going to say. And it's going to be the best. Oh my God, it's going to be so amazing. Then you have, this is hilarious, the fantasy that the Clinton campaign stole votes makes no sense. Why would it, this is the Nation, why would any campaign, no matter how unprincipled, fix a race that it's been winning from the start? Because it's been winning it from the start because the race was fixed. That's why. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. Media was a part of it also. You don't need an oath signed in blood. See, Democrats, with Trump, it's like, we have a dossier that said he liked showers and golden showers, in Moscow hotel rooms. It's signed, nobody. Yeah, we need to investigate this. This is evidence. But then you have W. Wasserman Schultz being forced to resign, and the DNC emails showing that 4 other people were forced to resign because of what was written. And it's like, well, why would they do this? Because they cheat. That's why. Because they cheat, and media's a part of it also. And they're loyal journalists who either can't believe they would cheat or don't care or just want Clinton and would never allow Bernie Sanders to win. Or there was a media blackout. And then you had wonderful Washington Post writer, the same writer that won the Pulitzer. You could just do anything against Trump, you'll win a Pulitzer Prize. But he was like, free college tuition isn't about helping people. It's about control. Clinton was winning it in the beginning because nobody knew who Bernie Sanders was. Bernie Sanders is a human doormat of the Democratic Party. But he was winning it from the beginning. She was winning it from the beginning because PE, when I hear without evidence, I know Trump's right. He's exactly. It's almost always, he's always proven right. PE, thank you. It's kind of funny too because they're like, why would she cheat when she was already winning the election right off the bat? It's like, well, first of all, in 2016, nobody knew who Bernie Sanders was. As he got more popular, his poll numbers increased like exponentially. He was eventually just tied with Clinton. But it took a long time because there was a media blackout, and media was like, no, we're not going to cover Bernie Sanders. So then they tried to slow the tide, but it wasn't working. Well, who cares? That's 2016, which is very relevant today because 2016 has never ended. They won't allow it to end. They're still blaming Russia. They're still blaming they're blaming Putin for them not campaigning in Wisconsin. But you have, this is the left. I don't want to get into it. The same people who are voting Democrat are lecturing the country on how to end racism. It's like, what? You have Clinton who made the super predator comment, and then you have Biden who says, if you have a problem voting for, deciding who you're for, me or Trump, then you ain't black. And then these are the same people who say, this is what you need to do to end racism. It's like, did you not see what Biden, who wrote the crime bill, just said? And you're preaching to us? Interesting. That's why nobody listens to Democrats. Okay? Flint took place under President Obama. Rich, thank you very much. Rich Westlake, thank you. Rich, thank you. Madam Cyberhack is a star role on a Wiener game. Produced by Mel Brooks. Aria Lee in Soviet Russia, Moscow showers. Aria Lee, hello. Rich Westlake, thank you. I think directed by Mel Brooks. Rich Westlake, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much, Rich Westlake. Thank you. Very kind of you as always. Very kind of you as always. It's interesting, the same people, Rich and everybody here, the same people who said, well, Bernie wasn't cheated, he got more votes, are the same people who say, Russia cheated us because we didn't get more votes in swing states. Like, oh, okay. So you are okay with Clinton getting more votes than Bernie Sanders, no matter how it happens, even if Debbie Wasserman Schultz has to resign. But you're not okay with Russian Facebook ads that nobody saw, that you can't even prove swung the election. And by the way, that caused more votes in swing states because they just care about the vote count. So the vote count is just, it's like Trump, has the vote count in swing states. Rich Westlake, thank you. Wienergate the movie. I thought I had the starring role in Wienergate. Oh my! Well, at least I have best supporting cast. I have a minor role. Or I should say, I have a small part. Really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable. Like, they're so delusional also. They're like, well, these cities are being dismantled. It has nothing to do with the left. Like, oh, okay. Like, they don't, they don't realize that people being arrested and caught almost always have left-leaning ideology or viewpoints or whatever. So the left is like, well, it has nothing to do with us. So then who is causing $1.4 billion in property damage throughout the country? It's interesting too because when they lose, and when it's Clinton again, because we haven't. I'm telling you, and I stated the case last night. I mean, that was the best live stream, best video thus far out of like 75 or 80 or 100 videos I've done on that topic. Rich Westlake, thank you. Directed by Mel Brooks. Rich, thank you. Aria Lee, sorry, it's not as awesome as the other donations. It is awesome, but just have to say you rock. Love your Slick Willie voice. Oh, Aria Lee, I want to thank you for that. Oh my goodness, and every donation is something that I just love so much. It doesn't matter the size of the donation. Aria Lee, thank you very much for always watching, Aria. Thank you. George Rivera Jr., check your Gmail. I will, George Rivera Jr. I will. George, I sometimes, I very rarely write back. Just, it's kind of a policy. Very, very, very rarely do I write back. So, I guess that's, I don't want anyone to take it personally at all, but I never really, I very rarely write back, and if I do, it's like a very short response. Not because I think I'm better than anyone. It has nothing to do with that. It's just part of like running channels and being in media or whatever. But George Rivera Jr., thank you. And, thank you always for your support and for watching and just for being awesome. George Rivera Jr., thank you. Rich Westlake. Rich. Thank you as well, as always. Aria, thank you. Let's just type in. I will say this. I thought it was beautiful. The elbow bump, I did think was beautiful. I did. The elbow bump between Pence and Biden, I thought was a beautiful thing. I as much as Biden annoys me, I thought it was a beautiful. I really did. Hopefully, it showed the world that at the end of the day, the country is strong. In terms of the imagery of that. But let's look at Joe. See here. Here's how the Washington Post would. Here's how Joe Biden would combat the pandemic if he wins the election. It doesn't really. It's not really. I'm not really getting any. Then you have Vox, why older voters love Joe Biden. No, older liberal voters. But whatever. Older Democrats. You don't really get anything. It's interesting how when Madam Secretary does take the mantle, the buzz and energy, they are waiting for the very last moment to get Madam Secretary to be, she's the rightful, nominee, the rightful owner of the nomination. The Russians stole it from her, and I don't know how or when or why. I don't know what's going on. But in 2017, I wrote, Hillary Clinton 2020 is a reality. Get ready for 8 years of Trump. Didn't say that she'd win Iowa. Never said that. I did say that she would take the nomination at the convention, but I didn't expect it to be a Zoom meeting. And then I also said, right after I said that, like, you know what? If they don't, then it'll be debates. If it's not debates, it'll be sometime before November 3rd, and last night I explained Politico. They don't, even if the ballots are printed, it doesn't matter. The electors will still vote. If the state goes for Clinton, all those Biden votes go for Clinton, which is actually even better for them to kind of muddy the waters. Because you'd have a whole bunch of absentee ballots with different names, and it's just Sid Hart shook 'em all. Cause of Dems. Now I love Putin. Russia about to. Sid Hart, thank you. Old school dad, man. November 4th. Old school dad, man. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's you're gonna see. It's going to be interesting. Even media, when President Trump wins again, even media, because currently, Kamala Harris didn't even get to Iowa. So there's no grassroots support for Kamala Harris anywhere in the country. In California, yes, but like throughout the country, She didn't even get to Iowa. Biden has never had a functioning campaign. He lost the first 3 contests. That's why Professor Helmut Norpoth believes in a landslide for Trump. Because his model is based on enthusiasm, and there's zero enthusiasm for Biden. So they're waiting until the last moment to say, okay, you know what? We're going to go with Madam Secretary. This way, they wait until a month before the election, either right before the debates, right after the debates, whatever, in the middle of the debates. Who knows? I don't care. But you don't have enough time to talk about the foundation, Haiti, weapons deals, servers, top secret intel, Whitewater. You don't have enough time to talk about all that stuff. So she could become the first female president. I do think she has a chance to actually win. I don't think that she will. I think that President Trump's going to go 8 years. He's going to defeat Hillary Clinton again. But from their vantage point, they say, look, Madam Secretary, the most, even when the press is like trying to elevate Madam Secretary to the point where President Obama is saying, oh, he's most qualified candidate of all time, it still doesn't work. So they're waiting to the last second. Even when the press and the Democratic Party and President Obama and say that she's the most qualified candidate of all time, there's nobody better. Trump is a menace and a monster, and even there's too many scandals, too many overt criminality. So they're waiting until the last. Their mentality is, well, people aren't going to make up their mind. So there are probably 6 or 7 million people, or maybe 2 or 3 million people, or maybe 1.5 million people, or 2 million people who won't make up their mind until the very last second. And when Clinton, saves the Democratic Party a month before the election, President Trump isn't going to have enough time to talk about the servers and the deleted emails and, voting alongside Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld and the super predator comment and all that. There won't be enough time. It's brilliant. They had the exhumed body campaign take all the slings and arrows, and then in the last second, it's all good. It's golden. What could be better? That's their mentality. Because they lost the election the last week of the election. I mean, President Trump would have won. It might have been a lot closer. He might not have won were it not for Comey. So, the last election was close. It wasn't close in terms of the Electoral College, but it was close in terms of the vote, 77,000 votes. Now, Clinton outspent Trump 2-1. You're not going to get that now. So, there are a great many advantages. Rich Westlake, thank you. Pete Solano, HSC save. I think so. Rich Westlake, Pete Solano, thank you. Eric H526, thank you. So it's just you cannot look at the Democratic Party and say this makes sense. You have a politician that everyone is looking at and saying this person is suffering from some kind of mental ailment. And everyone is saying this. And in fact, when they try to refute the sentiment, all they get, it's kind of hilarious because they're like, like CNN is like hilarious at doing this all the time because they're so apoplectic. Like, Biden just proved Trump wrong about his obvious mental issues. It's like, you said mental issues. You see what he did? That's why when President Trump deliberately misspells something, you get like the grammar police, like, Trump. It's I apostrophe M. But they retweet everything. They don't get it. They don't get it. Because they're such narcissists. They don't get it. They don't get it. So they keep on saying like, lollipop. The trick is you must smell Joe Biden's hair first to establish dominance. What is that? Eucalyptus? Raspberry Supreme. Nice. Lollipop. Nice. Lollipop. Thank you. But they don't understand that, like, lollipop, everybody here, they don't understand that repeating the claim that their current nominee is demented, has, like, you know, something that, like, the lights are on but nobody's home, one fry short of a Happy Meal, one beer short of a six-pack. They keep on repeating it within the headlines, trying to refute it. Everyone knows. It makes no sense that this man who is not named, the only reason he won, they're like, well, he won the primary. It was a pandemic where people voted in the rain to vote against Medicare for all. Like, you have to understand something. There are people on the left who said, I'm talking about only the people who said vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016, not the people who didn't. There are a group of progressives who did not. There are a group of progressives who did not succumb to the DNC nonsense. I am not referring to them. I'm referring to the phonies who said vote for Hillary Clinton and then claimed to be so edgy that the Democrats would just, you know, shiver in their boots if they yelled out Medicare for all enough times. But this makes no sense. He won because his name was not Bernie Sanders. People literally voted against Medicare for all. The Democrats do not want it. They don't want it. They don't want it. They said no. And you see, like, I don't have Twitter. If you see anyone impersonating me on Twitter, you know, take screenshots and notify Twitter. But you get this, like, oh, they won't give us Medicare for all. It's not like a present they're going to give you. You have to force them to do so. You have to force a political party to do so. That's why, like, when President Trump won, he forced out the Lincoln Project people. They were forced out. See, the Lincoln Project people would be Republican if Jeb Bush won. But Donald Trump put his foot way up their rear end and kicked them out of the Republican Party. So the interventionist regime change people, out. They're gone now. He forced them out. They found a nice, wonderful home in the Democratic Party. All these people are Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld people. These people were okay with the marriage amendment. Democrats have zero value system. And then they claim to oppose Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. They voted alongside them, and the Lincoln Project people are the same people who helped push that horrendous foreign policy that got us into never-ending military conflict. Trump kicked them out. That's what the whole Mueller probe was about. That's what the whole... They're going after Trump with everything they have because, in large part, because of foreign policy. Rich Westlake, thank you again. So, the notion that the Democrats are going to change from within is just a way of saying, gosh, I don't want to be a Russian pawn, so I can't vote Green Party because then I'll lose all my friends and they'll say that I'm helping Trump. They'll call me a Trumper. So it's not fashionable to vote Green if you're on the left, but it's the only way that you would force them. Cali boy! Protesters dislike for the history of targeting, but love the party with the same history. Exactly. Cali boy, hello! Exactly. Well, the crime bill, that was ushered in an era of mass incarceration. It's interesting, like all these systemic problems President Trump's addressing and the Democrats helped create. Rick Snyder, it was really funny, like the Cali boy, the governor of Michigan, who presided over the poisonous water in Flint. He's like, oh yeah, Joe Biden. And Joe Biden's like, hey everyone, I got the governor of Michigan. It's like, oh, the person who presided over the Flint water crisis. Oh, okay. Why would you be happy? So these are all the systemic issues that Democrats are clueless about. And 3 days, Cali boy, thank you very, very much. 3 days before George Floyd was murdered in Minneapolis, the Charlemagne interview took place. And I am convinced, because nobody is that stupid, nobody would say, you ain't. Nobody would say that. Nobody would say that. Nobody would say, you ain't. Would make that comment. And the arrogance and the narcissism, but Democrats are saying, oh, well, we're going to address these issues. Biden made that comment 3 days before. Could you imagine making that comment now? He made it 3 days before because that's the way he feels, or that's the way he was going to tank his campaign. Because he had a gleam in his eye. And Madam Secretary had a gleam in her eye when she was like, yeah, is the ending the DNC speech where she was like, and run by President Joe Biden. Like, you don't even believe that. And then she's like, oh, I could work for Biden, yeah. And then AOC was like, I'm endorsing Bernie Sanders. Like, none of this is even feasible. They didn't blame, look, they didn't blame Russia and call Bernie, and accuse Bernie of being part of a Russian plot just because, in 2020, they would allow AOC to endorse him. That makes no sense at all. So what, the millions of young people are now okay to just write in Bernie Sanders? How does that even work? So none of this makes any sense at all. Rich Westlake, thank you. Cali boy, thank you. But you look, and it's like they're running on empty. Like they're really running on fumes. Wow, Trump awards Medal of Honor to military hero who freed more than 75 hostages in Iraq. Wow. Amazing. U.S. Army Sergeant Major Thomas Patrick Payne. Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Really amazing. Medal of Honor. It's amazing. It's interesting because they have like Bob Woodward's book. Nobody cares. The Atlantic article. Nobody cares. Everything's vague and broad and there isn't really a specific grievance. It's just Trump bad. They might as well just say Trump bad. There's no specific grievance. Where's the specific grievance? Like, what did he do? Did he cover up a break-in like Watergate? What did he do? Did he get us into... He's like the first president in 40 years since Jimmy Carter to not send Americans to a new location or start like an intervention or, become embroiled in a quagmire. What did this man do besides be orange and offensive with his rhetoric, which, by the way, Democrats and media choose to be offended. They flip on and off the outrage. So that's a whole bunch of nonsense. And so what did he do to warrant such scorn and vitriol and venom? What did this man do? Record low unemployment? First Step Act? First president to step foot in North Korea? What did this man do? Oh, okay. The cages were built under President Obama, and that was a horrendous thing. I agree. And he stopped that pretty much right after there was an uproar, rightfully so, and I agree it was horrendous. And he stopped that. You want to know what the Senate panel found during President Obama's administration? Worse than that. So bad, I'm not even going to talk about it on the live stream. But you can look it up. So, Claire, hello. Rich Westlake, HA, can you do a Ricky Gervais talk? I like Ricky Gervais, but I can't. Are you talking about a voice? Rich, I can't. I don't know what you're referring to, but I don't think I could do his voice. Rich Westlake, thank you. Thank you as always, Rich, for your generosity and just thank you. It's interesting. This is kind of funny. Biden hopes he doesn't get baited into a brawl with Trump during debates. This is, Biden on debates. I know how to handle bullies. Like, Trump is not a bully. That's another thing. They go after him with slings and arrows and set him up and frame him. He's like the only bully that's bullied by everyone else. Trump is a counter. They don't understand because they're used to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, they cheated. And see, this is hilarious. So, independent Trump baselessly accuses Biden of using performance enhancements during the primary debates. It's so funny. They're repeating the claim, which is exactly what Trump wants. And it's like, it's his, this is hilarious. When Clinton says the Russians are grooming Tulsi Gabbard, nobody writes, Clinton baselessly accuses Tulsi Gabbard. When Trump says, yeah, what's going on? He was obviously on something. Maybe it was Anabol or, HGH. But it's like... It's just so funny. It's so funny. Angela Goodwin. I'd rather go to the wilds and pick lingonberries than abuse my brain with trash news. Angela Goodwin. Yes. Angela Goodwin, thank you. Thank you, Angela. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's a solemn day. God bless the people who suffered, and lost loved ones and suffered tremendously after this fateful day 19 years ago. I think everybody remembers where they were. It was a horrible, horrible, horrible day that led to truly horrible decisions by the Bush administration that were backed up. And that's why the main reason Kerry couldn't defeat Bush, because he voted alongside Bush, Cheney and Rumsfeld. And it's like you look at the past 20 years, 19 years, and it's taken Trump to reverse the Bush and President Obama legacy. And that was a moment, they talk about Trump's leadership. Bush administration was the worst possible administration to have. Because you had the Lincoln Project people saying, yeah, you know what, remake the entire map of the world. Doesn't work that way. They sent our soldiers in we were just, hammering one country or regime change here, regime change there, and, this will make us safer. The world is not safer. The world is less safe because of the Bush administration's reaction to the most tragic and horrendous day in U.S. history. Thank God we have President Trump reversing 16 years of failed foreign policy. But God bless the people, the men and women who fought to keep our country safe, the men and women who risked their lives and their health and their well-being to protect the country for the past 19 years in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places around the world. Thank you for everything you've done. And God bless you and your families. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. To my super chat, thank you. Very, very. Lisa Lister, thank you. Rich, thank you. Thank you as always, everyone. I'll be there. I'll be here. I'll be back tomorrow. Be here at 9 p.m. Pacific. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great evening. Lisa Lister, thank you again. Rich, thank you again. Eric H526, Luke St. Martin, thank you. I'll see you all tomorrow. See you tomorrow at 9 p.m. Pacific. Thanks, everybody. God bless. Thank you.